Commenting on the appointment of Lucien Wong as Attorney General, Senior Minister of State for Law, Indrani Raja, said Mr. Wong was a lawyer with almost 40 years of experience. She said he was widely acknowledged as a top legal mind and that the government had no reason to pass him over for someone who is less qualified.
Ms. Indrani said this as she addressed questions about an alleged conflict of interest on the part of the Attorney General, who used to be the Prime Minister's former personal lawyer. She also said rules regarding conflict of interest are clear among lawyers.
The Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General Hari Kumar will not be involved where there is any conflict. They have abided by the rules of conflict, and there is no basis to suggest that either the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General have not observed these rules. An example of how the rules work would be when lawyers move from the AGC to the bench and vice versa. So take, for example, former DAG Tan Seong Tai, who was from the AGC. He recuses himself from any AGC-related matters now that he has returned to the bench. Likewise, the Chief Justice in relation to any matters he handled when he was at the AGC. Similar rules apply in private practice as well. If a lawyer moves to a new firm, he observes the rules on conflict. He doesn't involve himself in his new firm on matters which his old firm had acted.
Ms. Indrani also responded to allegations of conflict of interest on Law Minister K. Shanmugam, who is part of the Ministerial Committee. Mr. Shanmugam had previously shared his views on the options for the House with some members of the Lee family.
Ms. Indrani said Mr. Shanmugam was already a cabinet minister. He was not consulted as a lawyer and did not advise them as clients.
And Ms. Indrani concluded by saying Mr. Lee Hsien Yang and Dr. Lee Wei Ling have made plenty of allegations which have not been substantiated. But she was pressed by Workers' Party MP Sylvia Lim to clarify her points on conflict of interest rules in legal practice.
The first point is that she told the House that the AG and the Deputy AG have been observing the conflict rules in their functions. I'd like to ask her categorically whether she's saying that the AG and the Deputy AG, Mr. Kumar, are not involved in advising the government on the matters concerning the Lee estate. That's the first clarification. The second clarification is she mentioned the fact that there have been friends of ministers who have been appointed to various organs of state, and I think she mentioned the judiciary as one of them. But does she not agree really that for the AGC, what we're faced now with is not the judiciary where there's security of tenure, where judges are appointed secure till 65, but we have an AG now who is on a short-term contract, 3 years. That puts a very different complexion on things. Third clarification is, does she agree or not agree that it is desirable to have distance between the AGC leadership and the government, which was what was believed by some former ministers, including Professor Jayakumar, or have standards changed?
On the first question, the short answer is that the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General are not advising the government on any matters in which they have previously been involved. In other words, whatever it is that they may, in private practice, have advised people on, when they come into the AGC, if it impacts onto those areas, then they won't advise on it. So if your question is, for example, is Mr. Lucien Wong advising the Ministerial Committee on 38 Oxley Road, the answer is no, for the very simple reason that in AGC there are other officers. So this is not a difficult thing. All lawyers know this. If you have acted on something and you happen to change an organization or go somewhere else and there is a conflict, you recuse yourself. It's very simple. It's not a difficult thing to do, and lawyers do it in practice all the time, and the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General are observing these rules. So I can assure Ms. Sylvia Lim that the rules of conflict are being observed. On the second point, Ms. Sylvia Lim said it is different from the bench where there is security of tenure, but in AGC there is no security of tenure, which puts a different complexion on things. It does not put a different complexion on things. All lawyers, good lawyers, understand their duty, which is simply this: if you're in a position of conflict, you do not act, you recuse yourself. And as to whether it is desirable to have distance, the correct question really is, are the members or are the officers of AGC, do they act independently? In other words, if there is a conflict, do they stand aside? Do they apply their minds to this without fear or favor? Do they do their duty? And the answer to those questions is yes. They do act independently, they apply their minds, and they carry out their duties without fear or favor. So in short, the officers in the AGC, whether it's the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, or anyone down along the line, all observe proper rules of conduct.